Hello, Kansas and Western fans. It's time for episode number 46 of the construction of the Kansas and Western HO scale model railroad. But before we get in here, we need to go back outside. Hang on just a second. Okay, we're back at my little temporary workstation. And as you saw in the thumbnail, this is the status of my test bed for doing the pour for the river. And this is as far as I've gotten because, as you can imagine, we're working with all kinds of different things that need to dry. And need to dry overnight or even for a couple of days. And so, unfortunately, this is as far as I've gotten in terms of getting ready for the pour in the river, and I'll explain why. First of all, here on the left, this is the only pour I've gotten done. And by the way, I tested doing some static grass. Not sure how well that looks on camera, but I'm pleased with using that for the first time, so I'm excited to do that some more. Anyway, as you can see, I'm testing out my dam theory, DAM, on doing sections of the river pour at a time. And this was the first one. And you can see there was a bead of caulk that I laid as a primary dam. And then I put rocks around it to try to hide that. After 3 days, I'm kind of surprised the caulk hasn't dried more clear than that. So that's a lesson learned. But what I also learned was I was not able to get the rocks secured in terms of leakage. And that's why you see the darker colors around the edge of the dam is the water, the resin just kind of bypassed the dam through the rocks. So before I go into too much more detail, I am doing a very segmented series on doing the river pour. The first episode is going to be about this test bed. It's probably 80%, 85% complete. Once I get that complete, I'm going to post that to show the process of building this thing and doing the tests and all my lessons learned. So that's coming. Maybe next week. I'm not going to make any promises, but it's almost done, so we'll get that posted. Anyway, so you can see just last night I built these other two dams, so the caulk is definitely not dry here. So I'm going to try another pour. I've added some Mod Podge around the ends of the dams, hopefully to secure those a little bit better. But I'm going to try to do a larger pour. This one here was about 2.5 ounces in total, so not very much. It looked like it was plenty when I first poured it, and it looked like the dam was going to work, and then it just slowly kind of oozed right around it. So we'll see how this next one goes, and I'll share those results with you. Anyway, we'll move back into the train room and talk about that. Okay, now I did get some work done on the layout itself, so we'll go over that really quick. All of it was down here in the river area, so we'll talk about that. So first of all, I added some more of this sanded grout along the river bottom, which adds a great texture. The color is not permanent. I chose just as dark a color as I could find commercially, which was this gray. It's not a big deal. I did learn on the test bed that I can paint it easily, and it works just fine. I'm still trying to fine tune the color that I want for the bottom of the river. So I'm going to test that as well on the test bed and hopefully come up with a good answer before I do anything on the actual layout. But that's been done. I've finished modeling, I guess, the other riverbank, the roadside riverbank, and I went with a little bit darker and browner color for this cliff face, thinking that it has a lot more contact with water and a lot less exposure to the sun, so it would be a lot darker than the cliffs over here. I added some more landscaping rock, which I've decided I'm not going to paint, I believe, because this would be more natural rock that's been dumped over the side after years of rock slides on the highway. So might leave this a two-tone bank thing. I'm not sure. I need to look at the prototype photos again to see, but I'm pretty sure a lot of this rock would have been just native that was dumped over the side. Wrapping around here, I've added some random rocks and even some stones, some landscaping stones from my own yard or landscaping work, just to have some boulders in the river. And you can see it's all kind of done here. I've added a few rock face places here and there just to break it up. So you can see all that is done. This foreground scene I have made into a campground. This is a little bit more of a RV campground just because that's personally what I'm used to. We have our own RV trailer that we haul around to places, hoping to do so to Colorado this year. And I only have one of these, so otherwise it would look like a busier campground. But these picnic tables, and these are actual grills that are supposed to stand up. I'm not gluing these in yet, so, but that's what they do. These are all whistle stop models, examples, and they look really nice. The detail on these picnic tables is fantastic. Got some trash barrels there. All I need is a fire pit. Anyway, so I've got that done, and this is just some more sanded grout that I've laid here for gravel for the actual campsites. And then I'm going to go back and do the static grass in these tan areas that you can see between. And thinking about adding maybe a gravel path that goes down to the river for people that want to fish or just mess around in the water, whatever. But so that's still in progress. Other than that, that's about all I've gotten done on the layout itself, because that test bed is really eating up all my time. And so that takes me back to the poll results video I did 2 weeks ago, and how I said I wasn't going to do another one of these until the river was done. Well, at the rate that I'm going, it could be a couple of months before this river gets poured, because there's just too many details to work out. I've got to make sure everything is just right, because once you pour that resin, that's it. You can't go back and repaint the bottom of the river. You can't recolor the resin of the water. So I might even make a second test bed if it takes, more attempts to get it right before I pour this thing, because we're talking about upwards of 3 gallons of resin that I'm going to need to fill this thing properly. So I don't want to screw that up, as you might imagine. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to continue to work on that test bed, because it's a lot of short sections of activity followed by a day or two of drying. So it doesn't really eat up all that much time. And although I could continue to work on the layout, the river portion, there's just so many details that the test bed needs to figure out before I can do anything else here. So these last 2 weeks haven't been very productive, because once I do something on the test bed, I have to let it dry, often overnight, and I can't really do much else. So what I'm going to do for these next 2 weeks is continue to work on that test bed, continue moving forwards to try to get this river poured. But we're going to go ahead and do the pole like normal. And whatever wins the pole that's not the gorge will also get some attention. So you guys that have been, getting bored by all this scenery work, here's your chance to vote, and let's get something done on the other side or on the rest of the layout. So to that end, we're going to do a quick tour for those of you who might be new, and to remind everybody what the voting options are. But here we are in Canon City. Still need to add a backdrop. Still need lots of track weathering and ballast to do. Groundwork, building work. I still have to finish downtown, that structure kit there. And it segues over into Portland cement plant. Lots of structure work to do here, although the primary structures are all pretty much in place. Just have to do a lot of detail work, windows, doors, painting, all that. And that's about it for that. And then we have this portal situation. I have to do some scenery work here to hopefully hide those portals going through the backdrop. And we'll maneuver around to the other side of the layout. Here we have Pueblo and the Evraz steel plant. All the track work is done except for these 3 tracks that go into the plant itself, because I need to build that structure before I can get those tracks laid to make sure everything fits right. And we follow the main line around to La Junta Yard. Pretty much just backdrop and track work here. Except down here at the other end, I still need to finish this, just the last set of supports to finish this last highway segment. And then I need to do some scenery work here for the King Arroyo, which is basically a creek, and the tracks will be suspended over the creek on a trestle. So none of the track here is glued in place. That's where you can see all the T-pins that are kind of stuck in there, just kind of holding the cork in place. That'll be another scenery adventure. Now follow the main line over to Lamar. Still have a little bit of structure work to do. The primary ones are all basically in place. Just got to add a lot of detail and get some paint work done. And you fall around to Holly. Got a few more kits to build here. A lot of detail work. Already have a good start on track weathering and ballast, as you can see, so just have to finish that up. This will be the second most finished scene, I guess, on the layout following the gorge. And up here to the Holcomb power plant. I guess it might be a tie between this and Hawley for the second most finished, because there's just a little bit more structure work here to do in terms of the power plant itself. There's another element that needs to be added. I still need to finish the substation, tie that into the power plant somehow, and then our giant coal pile. Kind of looking forward to building that now that I've got it figured out what I'm going to do. And then this is Garden City more proper. A couple businesses right next to each other. Obviously the awesome backdrop here. And we fall around to the Charleston elevator. And I'm going to rebuild this. The primary part, the elevator part itself, is good. But the way the silos are designed, I'm going to redo those and make it look a little bit more like the prototype, where you have that bigger gap there, and then 8 silos, and then another gap, and then another 12 silos. So I'm just going to redo that to make it, because that's not too difficult to do. So I'd rather try to make it look more like the prototype, because this is really all there is in this scene besides a little co-op office and a house. So I want to see if I can't make this thing as true to life as possible. Then we follow the main line around. There'll be a kind of a lake recreation area here with some heavy trees to kind of block the main line as it travels around. Then we have the Wichita Industrial Park. Tons of structure work to do in this area. I really just have some representations of what I want in different areas, but a lot of work needs to be done yet. And we move into the Wichita Yard proper on the BNSF side. Got your giant grain elevator, lots of weathering work. Got to tie all those in, put a roof on it. I'm going to probably redo the elevator itself. It's just a little bit too simplistic, I think. And back down the other end of the yard. You do a lot of weathering on the highway bridge. Get some stripes added. Got a little bit of a start here on the track weathering and ballast for the yard. It's not looking too bad. Just need to obviously continue that. And that's just me experimenting with paint colors on here. I found a textured paint that I kind of like. Kind of removes the need to sand these smooth pipes rough to add texture. The paint does it for you. And this is an old elevator, so a darker color might suit it just fine. And this little scene I've just left because it's just a neat little scene after a Whistle Stop Models review I did. I'm probably just going to leave it there until I'm actually ready to build what's actually going to be in this scene, which I think is going to be a wheat field. And over here to Towanda. Need to get some more house kits and need to start working on this main drag through town. I'm going to try to build this scene here as you see it there. Just stretch it right out here, right to the edge of the layout. And move over to the elevator oil field. Still need to build another pump jack, one that I'm planning to have operate. And just do some scenic work. And build a dirt road here. And move to the El Dorado Industrial Park, where there's a number of industries. And into the El Dorado refinery. Tons and tons of structure work left to do here. Then we have this transition. I had to take all the trees off here because I had to turn my sprinkler system on for the year through the breaker box, so I just had to take those down because they weren't attached. No big deal. And into Union Tank Car Company. Last element on the layout. Okay, so I hope you guys understand my reasoning for not continuing to primarily work on the gorge. But as I said before, there's a small amount of work, but a lot of dry time that's required to make sure I get that resin pour right. Definitely don't want to screw up. And I did the measurements. This is a 20-foot long river. So in HO scale, that's about 1/3 of a mile. Anyway, we're going to open up the poll now. Those of you who would like to vote on what I work on, also work on, we'll say, for the next 2 weeks. I am going to continue to work on that test bed. I'm going to share the results of that work here in the next week or two. All the little different steps that I did to build it and to try doing that pour. But otherwise, go ahead and vote for any other part of the layout that you'd like to see me spend some time on. I will tabulate those votes, and voting ends this coming Sunday at midnight. And then I'll do a follow-up video on Monday with the results and my plan for carrying out the results. So thanks everybody for your comments and questions. Still open-minded to any other resin ideas you guys have. I have definitely settled on resin because I really want the depth look, and I want to be able to see these boulders both surrounded by and submerged in water. So I think it's just a really neat effect. I just have to get it perfected before I start to lay it on this layout. So I appreciate everybody's patience, their participation, and all their kind words. I guess that's about it for now. Everybody have a great weekend.